There's going to be a little bit of awkwardness for a moment.
I got to use it for the check this stream.
My phone's going to die. So.
Just make sure.
I got a charger.
All right, we are live.
Do you? Okay.
And like
then I'll...
We're live.
No, never mind. Don't worry about it.
Hi, guys. Yes, I'm talking to you with words directly to your face. Do you shy away from talking on the phone or wanting to interact with people face to face? Have always connected devices and social media artificially led to an exponential rise in social anxiety? Welcome to another episode of the Bermuda Triangle Podcast.
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Bermuda Triangle Podcast, where interesting topics get lost in good conversation. I'm your host, Alex, and the posse, starting with Adam.
What's going on, guys?
Travis.
What's up?
And Carl.
Hello, hello.
And today we have a special first-time guest.
Surprise.
Where we are struggling with our live stream, but we finally, I think, have got it up and running. Everybody welcome Chris. Woo,
hey guys.
Chris!
What's up? What's going on? How are we doing today?
How are you today, Chris?
I'm doing fantastic.
Perfect. I'm glad that you could join us today because this is this is a special moment for both of us, I think.
Yeah, this will be our first, I guess, away from guest, like not a live guest. And was technologically challenging, so we appreciate you bearing with us.
Holy crap,
thanks so much. Thanks so much for having me today, guys. I mean, I'm kind of honored to be y'all's first technical guest, I guess, as y'all call it.
Well, Chris, tell us a little bit about yourself so we can let the listeners know who you are.
Yeah, so, Chris Levy, CEO and founder of Blue Frog Party Club. Basically, we specialize in helping people have awesome parties at home.
Man, that box you sent us was packed full of party goods.
Yeah, I don't know if you saw or if you listened to our sort of breakdown of the entire box last week, but we were pleasantly surprised by the quality of the stuff that's in there and just the plethora of stuff that is involved, like, the recipes and all the stuff that was in there. Like, I was really surprised. We really liked it.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it, guys. I think the cool thing about what we're trying to do is we're trying to, build that human connection, get people off of technology and into the real world once again. And hopefully we can, change the world one party at a time.
Well, man, it's a great start. I can't wait to see what the rest of Blue Frog Party Club has in the future or what's going to be going on. I saw you posting this week about some new boxes that you've got coming out. I'm excited
Cinco
to see
de
it.
Mayo.
Yeah, Cinco de Mayo Fiesta. We can talk about that more later, but yeah, we got a lot of really cool things on the horizon, and looking forward to helping people have some awesome parties.
The big question is, does it come with salsa?
Because us Texans, we really care about the salsa.
Oh no, that's
so
my
while
vice.
it doesn't come with salsa, it does come with a salsa recipe.
Oh,
Ooh,
perfect. Even there.
Even better.
Yes,
that homemade
That
stuff.
homemade, you can't beat that.
So
yeah, you can give a man a fish, or you can teach a man to fish. So
there you go.
There you
go. Now you're gonna set up Carl for the rest of his life.
Yep. I have one already. But I'm always open for more.
So one thing that I'm actually really excited about this particular episode to have you with us is, we're going to be talking about communication and how communication's been altered with, digital communication and what that's looking like for, I guess, more organic communication. And I think that fits right into sort of what your mission of Blue Frog Party Club is, to bring people face to face together, which isn't happening, I guess, more now.
It is and it isn't, right?
I think
it is.
I think there's a comeback to it. I think we've sort of realized sort of the mistakes that we've been making with the social media, and I think we're now at a point where like, okay, hey, maybe we've gone a little too far with this.
I think the medium of initiating has changed completely.
Yeah,
obviously.
Yeah. We're more connected than ever while feeling more disconnected than ever.
Yeah, I think it's also you've got this like continuum that's starting to build itself out. You have, the middle ground people are able to find that balance between using media to benefit them and benefit whatever they're passionate about, while at the same time able to engage effectively with people in reality. But you also have those hardlines who are stuck on media, and those hardlines who say, burn media to the ground like it's the worst invention we've ever made as humankind.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's one thing that, like, and I'm sure we're going to hit on this more throughout the episode of just finding the balance between utilizing the technology and taking advantage of that, because there are certainly some big, huge advantages of, connecting people across the world and sharing those ideas, but also balancing that with, organic, face-to-face, and sometimes even whether it's through video chat or not through video chat, but just, making sure that there's a balance between those two.
I think one thing that's really important to keep in mind with electronics and just the way we communicate nowadays, like this instantaneous communication has really only existed for what, like 25 years?
20
I mean,
years
at the
tops.
level that it's at today, 10 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, if we're talking about smart devices.
Yeah.
And so it's really hard to know what effects those are having on us as a whole until maybe 10 or 20 years from now,
Yeah, I think one of the more challenging things, I guess, from a psychiatric perspective, is the mind set up for that sort of constant barrage of information and communication and stuff like that. Like, I think I don't think we know yet. I don't think we've gotten to the point to be able to really study its effects. I mean, one thing that I know that we've seen a drastic rise of, and especially in countries like Japan and maybe in China, is like there's internet addiction.
Yeah.
The hikikomori.
I think I have a pretty good parallel, actually. This just like leaped into my brain. One thing that we as humans have been trying to overcome with our diets specifically is we've found in the recent years that consuming too many carbs is horrible for your body, right?
Yeah.
And the reason we've been so set on carbs is because as humans, we figured out how to farm and we figured out we could plant wheat and grow bread. But in the tens of thousands of years that we have figured out to plant bread, our bodies have yet to adjust. So how long would it take our minds to adjust to the way we communicate now?
It's the supersaturation of it all.
Yeah, or can it? I think is the better
Exactly.
question.
Yeah.
Is it possible?
Would it take tens of thousands of years?
I feel like we've all got a good sense that, I mean, we wouldn't be having this conversation if we didn't feel like we had some kind of a good sense of that something's not right. It's not, communication has definitely changed. We feel like we're more connected.
I think there's negatives and positives.
Yeah, but I think we're learning, and like right now, if you've watched the stock market, a lot of stock investors are jumping off of Facebook because Zuckerberg is pulling out going back to this kind of like, I think it needs to be more, besides the scandals and other things going on, but like he wants it to be more friendly and less ad-based and news-based.
What Tom wanted.
Yeah, there you go, from MySpace.
Tom. Good old Tom.
But yeah, one thing that I've also kind of noticed too, as I go out to social environments, whether it be a bar or a house party or whatever it may be, is some sort of social gathering with people, exactly, you just did the motion.
Yeah.
I mean, people are just glued to the phone. Like, people are uncomfortable with just standing there and basically putting themselves in front of other people, I feel like. What do you think about that, Chris?
Yeah, so I think there's, like you've been saying, there's a lot to be said for actual human connection or human interaction. I think it's been ingrained in our DNA to have that, especially because that's kind of how society has kind of built itself up to this point. And I think there's some. I was looking really quickly. There's some studies out there that show, it's possible that even dopamine gets released when we're actually able to have effective communication and make that connection with someone in person. Whereas when you're doing that online, you're basically gluing yourself to that device, and you're getting that release, I guess, or that connection to that device instead of the person you're actually talking to.
Yeah, and we've done an episode specifically, I think, on social media, and one of the things that we hit in that episode was like social media is designed to give you those dopamine
slot
triggers.
Machine effect.
It's the slot machine effect. So, you go to that Facebook page and it's like a split, small second between you logging in, seeing the page, boom, you have a notification and it's a big red dot, and people are triggering right into that, and they get that sort of dopamine response by saying, "Oh, I got a friend request," or "Oh, I got a notification. Someone liked my shit." And so I think that's what's also happening, is that you get that sort of artificial hijacking of saying, we know, general communication between people, releases those sort of positive endorphins, and it's so foundational to who we are as humans. I mean, we are social creatures, and now you're seeing it sort of, as I said, hijacked by artificial means, i.e., the social medias.
Yeah, I'll tell you this too. I found, in starting this company and really delving into the business world of startups and entrepreneurship and everything, you just can't replace being in person. When you're there in person with someone, whether you're negotiating a business deal, talking about collaboration or a new partnership, something that you're hoping to do with another brand or another organization, you can reach out to them. But a lot of times, wherever you send via email or social media gets lost in translation. But when you're there in person, you're showing how committed you are to what you're trying to achieve or to what they're trying to achieve. It just goes that extra mile.
Yeah, I always felt like texting in general is a very surface level kind of interaction. It's meant for, this is what, like, arranging things, I guess is the best way to put it, is arranging like events, arranging dates, arranging, things that you want to go do.
But not discussing things. Deep
conversations.
Yeah,
that's the interpersonal, is the deep level conversations.
Well, that kind of brings me to the biggest part of communication is lost when you're just reading font.
Nonverbal
right?
cues.
There's a huge piece. 70% is what the stats or dialogue kind of analyzed out, is that 70% of your communication is not the words that you are saying. It's how you say it. It's the tone, like my inflection in my voice right now, how excited I can be about something.
Body language, eye contact.
My shoulders, my hands,
nodding.
my eyes, the way you move your body, the way I lean in to interact with you, the look I give you with my eyebrows changing, that can all change the way that you hear me say hi. But if I say hi or hey, there's very different perceptions of how we interact with that, right?
I think that's a very important point to make, Alex, because a lot of times just by thinking that you're actually communicating more because you're sending more text messages, you're sending more direct messages, you're liking more stuff on Facebook, you're quote unquote engaging with your audience or your community, you actually might be communicating less because you have lost that body language, you've lost that tone, all those other things that go into actual human communication.
And to add on to that, what happens when you're texting, I'm picking on texting because I think it's helped a lot, but it's also impeded a lot of progress for human communications, is when you're texting someone, like someone you've never met, you automatically create in their mind the fantasy of how you text. Like, so when you're texting, that's what they're thinking of. And then when you go and meet them in person, it could be completely disappointing.
Yeah, like I remember when I was deployed and, you get bored over there, so you might join a dating website or whatever. Just have people to talk to be honest. And you get like this sense of you sort of build in your mind what you think this person is like, and then like when it comes to maybe video chatting or seeing this person face to face, you're like, oh, that is not what I thought. It's not what I thought this person sounded like. It's not the mannerisms I thought this person would have. Like, so you basically are creating artificial versions of what you think those people are.
Let's take that point real quick, if y'all don't mind. Kind of going to video. Do you think video, now that we've expanded the suite, I guess, of apps and technology, like, FaceTime has been able to come out, WhatsApp, Skype, has that filled that gap where we have seen in the past couple of years where people have relied on technology?
I agree with video definitely filling in the gap, and I want to touch on that real quick. I just had a point that I wanted to make about like text messaging and direct messaging in general. Yep. I think one thing that it creates is a space for people to be lazy. And I think what can happen is and I am guilty of this 100%. You'll get a text.
Travis lazy? No.
You'll get a text and you'll not respond immediately.
Yeah.
And I feel like that is a big problem.
Yeah, like I turn those read receipts right off.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, I leave mine on because I want to be held accountable for this.
Yeah.
And that's something that I think is definitely truth to text messages, is that I purposely force myself to have that read receipt because I want it to be as natural as I can have it. But on Beck, but I wanted to comment on the video, filling the gap that Chris was mentioning. I don't think it necessarily entirely fills the gap. Like, Chris, there is still a difference in how we communicate right now via Skype versus being in person. There is something about human connection, and there is energy that we put out. Yeah. And there is something that is always lost through that fourth dimensional human interaction that we don't get through that screen, right? We get that two-dimensional, just I'm looking right here at you, flat on my screen. I don't get to reach out, shake your hand. Do you know how important it is to shake somebody's hand or give somebody a hug?
Or just touch them on the shoulder or something, yeah.
Why do you think in every culture there's always some kind of formal greeting that involves a touch?
Yeah.
And
I
pretty
would
much
say, except maybe
it's
for
the five
the Japanese
senses.
one, because they just bow to each other. But
Yeah.
but still, like, I mean, you know, that was almost the exact point that I was going. Like, I think in a way, of course, I would rank it much higher than texting, because like you have sort of, you don't get all of the senses when you're doing a video communication, but like you're able to see the tone, you're able to see the nodding, or some of the expressions, or the you know, inflections in the tone of voice and stuff like that. And I think if you guys haven't seen on our Instagram page, like, we're trying to get more sort of putting videos up rather than some just photos or you know, typing something out, like, because I think that's going to allow our sort of audience to have a better connection to what we're doing. But yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say it's a happy medium. I would say it's significant progress over just maybe an email or a text message or a social media post.
And that brings me. Oh yeah, go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, I think what everything we're all, you know, kind of leading towards is it's about that balance, right? So you should have a balance between technology, whether it's, you know, direct messaging or instant messaging, text messages, video, but you should also balance out with that time you spend in person with real people, whether they're close to you or not. You just can't replicate that, you know, in-person connection.
Well, there's a huge study on just to people with depression and anxiety, and one of the first things that any therapist will encourage is to be with people, right? Is to be with your family, to be with friends, to be out in groups, to get involved in some activity. And it's deep rooted into our human psyche.
Psyche. There you go.
Yeah.
Words.
Yeah, words. Got to remember those.
That is one benefit of written communication.
Yeah, right. I can keep correcting my grammar errors. But there is really something about connecting and being with people and inviting people. You know, some of the best moments I have in this house is when I've had 15 people in it.
Oh,
You know,
maybe with us over.
yeah, you guys were over. But there is a special moment where I get to go to the store. I get to get prepared. I get to get all the drinks. I get to get all the food. I get to get people over one at a time and start to really interact. And start small. 3 people come in the door. You start to talk. You're having chit chat, and then
You're just a natural host. That's just you.
so much
you
fun.
definitely are.
Well, but another point that I also wanted to mention, actually, too, rather, is it's an important muscle to exercise. Like Travis and I are more on the introverted side, and it's tough for us to like get out, or maybe Carl too.
I would say these two. You're not as introverted. You're a liar.
No. I can be. I definitely can be. Ask my girlfriend. But like it's a muscle that you do have to exercise, and for introverted folks, it's a little harder. But you just have to force yourself to do it, and that's what I've seen a lot with a lot of the younger folks who are sort of grown up within social media or, you know, digital communication at the forefront of, you know, how they talk to people. Is that you do have to practice that. It's going to be uncomfortable. But just quickly, the second thing that I was going to say is it's not about just having the communication and just being there, but it's about having quality communication. Like
small talk sucks.
For example, you know, when I was in college, you know, the first time around in early 2008, 2009, even then social media was new, but I swear every conversation that I heard at college was like, okay, so what's your major and what do you plan on doing with that? Like, everybody would be asking the same damn questions.
It's like a script we all read.
Exactly. It wasn't quality communication. You weren't really there to get to know the person. You were just like, oh, well, I guess this is what I'm supposed to ask, so I guess I'll just ask these things. But yeah, I think that's another point to have is, you know, the quality to the communication.
I think, you know, I've taken a couple of personality tests over the years just to kind of better understand myself and, you know, what I'm good at, what I'm not so good at, some stuff I can work on. One of the things I found is I'm actually a high introvert and a high extrovert. So I really enjoy that time where I go out and meet people, you know, come up with new ideas. And then I try to take that, what I get out of that human connection and then solidify it when I, you know, crawl back into my hole, as I sometimes say, and go back into my introverted side. But I think the other point I'd like to make is that, you know, a lot of times when you're able to go into those social settings, it just breeds new creativity because you're getting all these influx of new ideas from people. And I think anyone who's having trouble, like coming up with some new ideas or trying to unleash their creative side, they might want to look at their social connections and figure out how much time they're actually spending in the present with someone else.
So I would view myself as what I call a social chameleon. I can be introverted, I can be extroverted,
I would
on
agree.
demand,
I'd say
sort
that.
of. Chris, would you say that probably fits your profile-ish? Like,
I'm not sure if I'll buy off on chameleon, but
okay. Well, no, that might sound a little crude, but yeah.
there's some qualities that I can identify with. Yes.
No, it's like I wouldn't consider that a bad thing though. It's
No.
like
You
you're
adapt
very
to your
good at adapting
surroundings. Yeah.
to your surroundings, but
Yes.
at the end of the day, you want to go back to your cave and just like recharge, kind of deal. That's me.
Adaptability is huge. That is something that you cannot.
That's a muscle you practice. Yes.
Right. You can't build that online. You can't build that liking, Facebook posts.
Failure's important.
You have to be in those dynamic environments where you're engaging with real people. That's what's going to either make you better at talking to people or just make you a better human in general.
And especially like when you talk even in a professional realm, but this also can, definitely bleed to just your personal life too. Like, think about how much time has to be involved when you're trying to have a digital conversation with somebody. Mm-hmm. Like, just to get one point across, that's like a 10, 20-minute process plus however long it takes them to type it, plus however long it takes them to read it and respond. But if you just call them up on the telephone, you can have that conversation in 6 seconds, and then you can talk about a whole host of other ideas. And especially, Chris, you were kind of making the point of creativity. Like, if you want to sort of run your ideas by somebody and really get some good creative feedback, just talk to somebody.
Instantaneously.
Instantaneous feedback. You'll get to go way more in depth than you ever could through an email. It's just so much better.
It's something that you guys know about me, because you've known me most of my life, is that my ability to interact with people is pretty much my strongest skill. I'm not the smartest man. I'm not the most involved in different things, but I can interact with people. And
Goddamn, do you talk?
I love talking to people, right? There is something that I think that people will gain tremendously with learning simple skills of communication and being able to interact with people. You get some of the brilliant minds, but if you're not able to interact with people, you're never going to get to the place that you think you should be or that you need to be. There's people that are just overlooked for job promotions just because they aren't able to have that regular communication with their leader at the time. Whatever it may be, communication is a huge valuable part of how we grow every day and where we put ourselves in the future.
Yeah, and to play a little devil's advocate, I think there is some benefits to written communication as far as electronic communication, sending emails and stuff in this regard. You just used the example of people being passed up for promotions and stuff. I think a lot of time when you're having those verbal communications, the biggest downfall is that it's not recorded.
Yeah.
And I feel like one of the massive benefits to the way offices now work, the way just accountability in general works, is you can send an email to somebody and there is a paper trail record of that.
Trust me, that helps.
Yeah,
in my job,
and that's huge.
And I know that's something that we're probably both learning in business school right now. But you have to tailor the type of communication you're doing based off of what you're trying to convey.
And to certain people too.
And it's to certain people, different environments, what the message is. There are different ways. There are better methods to communicate certain information versus other information. So if it's you're just trying to pass the message along, hey, we have this meeting, today at 5 o'clock. Just make sure you're there. It's located here. Okay, that may be something that could be just sent through a text or an email or something real quick. But if you're going to fire somebody, you don't want to be doing that through an email.
No,
you want to have that face-to-face conversation with someone. It's more empathetic and for the host of reasons.
Yes.
I really want to double that point or second that point is how you got to tailor your message to your audience, whether that's talking to one person or 100 people, and you can't. Well, yes, you can do that to some extent on Facebook or to Instagram by saying this is what I'm specifically offering to that community. The only way you're going to get better at that is by talking to real people, trying those trial and error sort of things, and offering those different things to people to see what they actually kind of pick up on. You're going to see in their body language, you're going to see in their eyes, you're going to see in their facial expressions when they really latch onto something you say and when they don't.
Now, what are your guys' thoughts on, and again, I know we've kind of hit up this point on the social media episode, but, we're talking about, there's the phenomenon on social media now where, the girl's just taking photos of her butt and she's reaching millions upon millions of people, and they're only there to get the pictures of her butt.
People like butts, man.
Yeah, people like butts, I'm sure, but I guess, what are your thoughts on, is that communication being wasted?
So,
that's an interesting phenomenon.
No, I forget.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I think there's value of the ideas of you can do whatever you want with the tools that you're given. Do I think that the people are utilizing it on the receiving end of that, the person seeking out that booty picture or whatever of that girl? Yeah, maybe they're wasting their time. And this is where I think these apps that we've mentioned in prior episodes, like Time Well Spent and other things, try and rein our addiction to some of this technology we kind of mentioned at the beginning of this episode, of how we can be caught into this dopamine release. And I love looking at that picture, but I shouldn't be spending like literally 20, 30 minutes of my time every 2-3 hours scrolling through booty pictures on Instagram. I should be
You have a problem.
that is an
Get out and
addiction.
talk to somebody about it.
I need to be interacting with women, and like that also kills, like, if I'm looking for a woman, like that kills your ability to have a regular conversation, or your ideas of what it is that you're looking for, or what's reality. It warps you.
And even as a fellow man, like, I've been uncomfortable when I see somebody, like, I just happen to like look at them while they're scrolling through their Instagram feed, and it's just naked chick, booty picture, bikini pic. Like, that's uncomfortable, but for me to see, to like, you look like, that's awkward as shit.
So you have to look at the culture that we live in. We live in a very celebrity worship culture, and when
but these aren't just celebrities.
No, but it's I'm sorry, it's not a celebrity worship. It's a validation worship culture.
Sure. Yeah.
And I mean these people with the 170,000 followers. It's their validation. It's that what gets them through the day. So they're addicted to that validation. Well, on the flip side, those people that are looking are being validated, in their primal minds or whatever.
Yeah.
So it's
But
it's a very important thing that you can, marketing wise too. Like you tap into those primal things, and you can reach a wide
I think
audience.
it's the lizard brain.
It's lizard brain. That's what it is.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well,
I think
go
I would
ahead.
ask, like, what are we training ourselves for by tapping into those primal, I guess, instincts that you're talking about? That if that's the only thing we're focusing on, we're sort of not evolving anymore, right?
No, we're not.
We're single mode, one type of medium, one viewpoint. Whereas if you get out of technology, you get back into the real world, you're once again entering that dynamic environment that allows us to evolve, and that's gotten us to where we are now.
I think one thing that we need to do as a society is to get back to a point where we're viewing these as just tools for additional types of communication, not, okay, this is how I communicate with people.
Right.
Because I definitely think that we've sort of gone too far as saying, like, I live on Facebook, like that's how I connect with people.
But I mean, people build their entire platforms on social media.
Yeah, and that's another thing that's happened too. I mean, you're seeing businesses. I mean, every business has a Facebook. Every business. Well, I guess Tesla deleted their Facebook, but
you'd be dumb not to.
But yeah, I mean, like it's like they've seen sort of people use it as the tool, and then the companies have latched onto these tools to sort of further exploit people to using the tool.
Well, what's happening is the marketing world is moving into the communities. It's moving into the digital communities and trying to influence the way the communities react and act within. So the people within those communities, like say you have very specific ads to like certain types of people that buy the same thing, so they'll keep on pressing those ads into your life. So it's a very like it's almost like tyrannical in a sense.
So would you think that when we're talking about social media, is it more of a problem, the influence of like advertisers and big companies, or is it more of like a problem with the
end user?
The end user, yeah.
I would say
both. It's both.
I would say it's an end user.
I would say it's the influencer.
Yeah,
So,
I was going to say that too. I was going to say I'd agree with these influencers.
Yeah, there's that middle ground of people who are, some are consumers, some are the other side, the advertiser, I guess, or the corporation, whatever you want to call it. The people who are putting out content, and the people who are consuming that content is what you break it down to. And in that middle, you have those influencers who are guiding where the people who consume are getting that content from. And I think if there's anyone that can change how society feels and views about this stuff, it's those influencers. I think there's people out there that are trying to do that. They're trying to create value for people once again. A lot of people will always say content is king. And if you have that high quality content that people are really looking for, to add that value to their day, they're going to stick with you rather than just another picture of a butt pic.
No, it's very true.
Yeah.
One thing I know we've talked a lot about on this podcast, which I believe relates directly to this whole sort of topic here, is we've talked about how, you know, especially when you get on those social media platforms, whether it be Twitter or just mainstream media or whatever, you'll see sort of the extremes of ideas and thoughts or political views, whatever. But then if you get down face to face with people on the ground level, you realize that no one really holds those ideas, or really no one holds those extreme thoughts. Of course, you know, I'm sure some people do, but for the most part, people are just regular, average, normal people.
Yeah, I saw a post today. It was like, if you just go outside and meet your neighbor, you'd be surprised that they think a lot of the same things that you do. And it's true. It's if you just really think the world is as polarized as it is, then you're not in touch with true real life reality in my mind. There may be those opinions out there, but you would be more surprised to find that the people around you are more reasonable and more willing to make sacrifices and benefits to you or to them, and make compromise to make agreements possible so that they can continue to interact in person.
Yeah, but even if you do disagree with somebody, I think it's important to have that face-to-face communication to discuss those ideas, right? Because I mean, one of the things specifically online that is a big problem is the anonymity.
Anonymity.
Yeah. Thank you, Carl. That people are able to hide behind to just lash out and just be absolute douchebags on the internet, and they just hide behind some, you know, picture of
keyboard warriors.
Yeah,
Pepe.
Exactly.
Of Pepe.
Yeah, thank you.
But I think what, you know, the point that Alex was making, like, I think this then leads people to be fearful to seek out those conversations, because like, I don't want to go talk to somebody that's a fucking KKK racist person. Like, I don't have any interest in talking to that person. So then, like, if you are getting the idea on Facebook and Twitter that somehow there's now millions and millions of racist KKK people, like,
it makes you
shit. I'm afraid to go out and talk to people.
Well, people want to stay in their comfort zones. They want to stay in those
bubbles,
those internet comfort zones, the safe zones. You know,
safe spaces.
Yeah, safe spaces. Thank you. And they don't want to put themselves in those uncomfortable situations to where they would benefit more.
But that's not how you grow. Yes. That's
once again, going back to the original point, the only way that we're going to evolve as a society is if we go to those, not just uncomfortable, but those situations that are dynamic, that force us to adapt.
No, it has. Every situation is not as black and white as it is. It's a very fluid interaction.
I think one thing that people have an apprehension to when it comes to putting themselves in those situations is like, how do they get the ball rolling? Like, how do you break the ice in a social situation?
I got step one right here. Take the social media apps that are more than likely on your homepage on your phone and move that shit to the very back, because and turn the notifications for it off, turn the badges off, and just check it once or twice a day. Like, actually, like, consciously think about how often you're checking it, because we don't. People are just unaware of that. And we've talked about time well spent. There's a few other applications out there that will literally tell you how much time you're spending on social media, and you'd be fucking shocked how much hours you waste in your day that you could read a book, go have a conversation with somebody, get out in the sun. Like,
it's awkward. It can be awkward, and there is moments where there's like a safety of the internet. If somebody doesn't reply to you or say hi or do whatever, you can just delete that conversation and walk away, right? Like, you're not literally embarrassed in front of that person. There is awkward moments in person that lead to embarrassment, and I think the problem is that we've conditioned ourselves to be more and more afraid over time, and we've been more and more rewarded online than we have been in person, and we've slowly kind of built ourselves a little shell, and we kind of crawl away, and we back into this corner where we're afraid. Like I said in prior episodes, you get into an elevator and you say hi to everybody.
Oh, shit,
people look at you like you're crazy. Like, everyone pulls out their phone and just goes straight to looking down at the floor.
I feel like it's half and half.
It's half and half.
I remember, I forgot what episode, but you said you started saying hi to people on the elevator, and I started doing that. And some people are great. People have been pretty nice.
You know who
half of the time.
You know who I find that tends to be the people to respond?
Older people?
Older people.
Well, yeah, older people.
Or the people who work in the area, not regular random people.
That is very true.
Like, people who know that they have to interact with you likely at some other point in some other time.
Like, I might be in this elevator with you again.
We'll interact. But there is not as many people willing to make that just instant connection. Or, like, imagine trying to walk up to somebody at a bar in a dating scenario, right? You go, hey,
Wait,
I want to.
That's not how that works.
I want to
anymore.
meet somebody. Yeah, it doesn't work that way anymore. Which I wanted to kind of segue into that.
I got to look at your Facebook first. Check out your Instagram.
Right. You got to do this
at your
background
butt.
check on people, but you can't just go up and say hi to somebody. Like, when's the last time any of us have made a friend outside of school, work, or like some
I do it every single
forced
day.
scenario?
I do it every single day.
You are
Carl,
impressive.
you're a great example.
You're what's called
of
the
that.
anomaly or the
Like,
weird
I
person.
told
No, I'm just
myself
kidding.
so just to give a little background on why I changed my mind. I just decided, hey, if I'm going to do something that's a very isolated, like an individual kind of thing, like writing, or for example, I'm going to go do it out in public.
Yeah.
And when I go out in public and I'm sitting at a table and I see someone that walks by and they even, some people have even sat at the same table with me, and we just have an interaction. Like, say, I comment on their dog, like I saw a giant dog, and I was like, "Hey, your dog," and we had a conspiracy theory talk
Oh, Jesus.
for like an hour and a half.
that's right
It was
up your alley.
It was so much fun. No, it was so much fun.
Yeah. No, it is.
And like, it's people like older guys, older women, just a whole range of people, and it's like everyone has this like slight impetus to want to talk. They want to talk because everybody's in their little zones.
If I could just chime in real quick,
Yeah.
one of the things I've noticed by having parties, I've learned is you got to figure out that way to break the ice, and the way you do that is monkey see, monkey do. We're creatures of habit, and we're creatures that want to emulate one another. And so if you can get people, you get one person, two people to start talking or start to engage, that's slowly going to spread out across the entire room. So it's that one decisive point where right at the beginning when you have all these weird people that you've never met before that just randomly show up or get randomly thrown in a room, and if you're able to cross that threshold and get one person talking to another person that they've never talked to before you know it, the whole room's going to be engaged in thoughtful conversation.
And I think that's one thing that you actually bake into your product. You have those sort of like social games in there to sort of facilitate those things to happen.
To break the ice.
And to break the ice, yeah. And so I think that's one thing that you are not only obviously believe in, as you just stated, but that's one thing that you're sort of trying to put inside of your product.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's important, one, to not only make it easy for someone who's going to have a party to set everything up, but it's also important to make that party engaging, to make your guests want to come to your parties, to make them get something out of coming to your party besides just having a good time, which, don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with having a good time. But I think if you create that more additional value for your guests, people are going to want to come to your parties more often, which is going to allow you to connect with your community and connect with the people around you more.
I wanted to go back to that monkey see, monkey do thing. It just brought up a thought in my mind when I saw a video of this festival, and there was this guy dancing by himself, next to a giant crowd, and all it took was one other person to come dance with him, and then the whole crowd came and danced with him.
Yeah.
So you're absolutely correct that we are creatures of habit, that we do emulate each other.
Well, if I'm at a bar and all my friends just want to stand there and complain about the environment, like it's what we do. We just stand there and complain about the environment. But if two of my friends are like, I'm going to go over here and dance like a crazy person, then I'm like, oh, well, I'm going to loosen up a little bit, and like I guess I'll go over there.
Take a couple shots and maybe join in.
And what's crazy, I think, is it's because like in your mind, you always think about that one, like the minimal amount of people that are going to judge you. You don't think about, oh, those are just two guys, we're just having fun and like everyone's just having a blast. It's like, no, but your mind, your ego is always just like, oh, that one person in the corner is judging me, so I'm not going to do that.
But
Definitely
what's so interesting about that, though, is that we almost seem so willing to be judged online, but we're so unwilling to be judged in person.
I just had this light bulb go off. Is so in person, I find like this is absolutely true. Everyone's embarrassed to make certain decisions or afraid to make decisions in person, right?
They're afraid of failure.
Online, I feel like. And maybe is it because everyone has a camera around them, and but my thing with online is it's almost permanent, right? You do something online, it should be more of a fear online, because whatever your actions you make, you may remove them, but someone has them somewhere. They exist on the internet forever, right? Every tweet that's gone up and someone's taken it down, we can still find those tweets, right?
Internet's forever.
Screenshot stuff, right? Where we almost have like the reverse thought process, where in reality we're afraid to make failure or afraid to have a mistake happen. And I don't know where that has derived from.
I think especially with photos, you can doctor failure online.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. So
And
it's easier to just push something out and just change it if you have to manipulate, especially nowadays. Oh my God, you can manipulate anything.
There are now concert venues or things that you can go to where they say you cannot use your phone. Like, not because we don't want you to record or whatever. We want you to. We want you to. No. We want you to be in the moment and enjoy it. Yeah. And the whole point of this is to be there, have gone to this event, saw this live, and then at the end, it's over. And you look back at those memories, I believe, much more fondly or they're
genuinely.
more genuinely than you would have, recording that video for the whole fucking concert and then never going back and looking at that video. Like, what's the point of that? That's something that always bugs me about concerts or whatever. Is like people just stand there and they're staring at their phone while watching it, and then they never end up fucking watching that video anyway.
Yeah, if I could kind of chime in on that too. I mean, I think a lot of times people will just do stuff just to do stuff. Like, you have a food at a party just to have food at a party. You have drinks at a party just to have drinks at a party, which, like, there's nothing wrong. Food is one of those things that unites all of us because it's something we share. We all need sustenance. And a lot of people get a lot of value out of having awesome food, awesome taste and culinary experiences. But if you are more intentional about how you put stuff together, whether it's those food, those drinks, or that conversation you're having with someone, if you're more intentional about it, it's going to show in that other person, and you don't know where that's going to lead. It could lead to something even more amazing that you wouldn't even have thought of.
That's so true. That's
so true.
I think that's something that could really apply to like a lot of life in general, and just being more intentional with the way you communicate.
Dating, particularly.
Especially with dating. Holy crap, yeah.
Do you think that's another thing? Is speaking of dating, like I remember always hearing my parents tell me stories of dating when they were younger, and they would just like go out, meet different people, see different things. It was more casual.
This was before Netflix,
and it was more casual. I don't know what like sexual life was like then, but it was like involved. It was definitely more like open, and then when they did find something they really liked, they would then start to settle down and get a little bit more serious. But now dating is almost super critical.
It's a meat market.
It's like you meet somebody, you lock it down as fast as you can, and if you don't, you're ostracized as a slut or a whore or a man whore or whatever you want to name it. Like,
I think, and that in and of itself we could do a whole episode on dating.
Absolutely.
But what I think, whether it was social media that did this, but I think that we've reached a point where, like, I mean, if you go to and talk to a person at a bar, like let's say you find an attractive woman, you're just talking to her or whatever, like she's gonna immediately think you're a creep. You're only trying to just have sex with her and that's it. Like, people just dismiss the idea of people wanting to just, okay, I just wanted to talk to you, like that's it. And sometimes rightfully so, because there are fucking creeps out there that do that shit.
Yeah.
But I
tend to disagree with that.
Okay.
Sorry. Yeah, I would say the chance of that happening is there. But it's that fear that we never initialize, even trying. So by saying that, oh, she thinks you're a creep, that's already setting you up for failure. Like, you've already set that in your mind, that parameter in your mind for failing. So I would say it's better to give it the benefit of doubt in that scenario.
Well, I think specifically in the dating context, I think one of the key sort of factors of whether you'll be successful or not in that sort of thing is, and I see this all the time, and I've experienced this. If the girl finds you attractive, she's going to be more willing to talk to you. But if she finds you not so attractive, she's just going to think that you're going to try to fuck her and leave away.
That's just social. She's going to be.
This kind of brings up another interesting point: is why it's so important to have parties. When you show up to a party, especially if you already know somebody, you're accepted to that group. You're accepted to that party because you know the host, because you know someone there at the party. And so when you're engaging with someone at a bar, you don't have that social currency. And so if you're able to go to a party instead to meet someone, I think it's a lot more valuable both to you and to the other person because you're being introduced through a mutual set of friends. So you can kind of feel each other out a little bit more, take some of that awkwardness out of it.
Yeah.
And hopefully leads to something better.
Absolutely. I think some of the best relationships and friends I've ever made have been through parties, not through bars. Mm-hmm. Or if it was at a bar, it was because a friend of a friend was invited, and it was in that social interaction that was much like a party. But it wasn't some random person at the bar that became my friend. It was most of the time mutual friends. Mm-hmm. I think that the party environment is almost, I don't know, in my life in the last 5, 6 years, 7 years, whatever, I feel like hasn't been quite the same. It's always been, let's go out and pay $10 a drink and
fuck that.
Stand out in this bar and pay cover fees and all this stuff, and partying has kind of disappeared. Now, I have a thought actually that just popped in my head about rejection that we were talking about earlier, parties in this same conversation, is I think the problem is there's a fear of missing out, or this like
FOMO,
or this like refusal to commit to plans.
Yeah.
Is a big problem.
Yeah.
Flaking.
So every time I threw a party here maybe 2-3 months ago, right? And I invited probably 30, 40 people, and only 15, 20 maybe showed up. And I mean, the people that I invited that didn't show up were some of the people I was most looking forward
and I bet
to,
you every one of them was like, yeah, man, I'll be there. I'll be there.
And all of them either didn't reply or told me they were coming and then never showed up.
Yeah.
And or replied at like 1 a.m. saying, "Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot." You know, after I gave them a week's heads up and then a day's heads up reminder.
Yeah, let me jump in on this one also. I mean, I think one of the important things that we do in our party boxes is we put real invitations in the box. And the purpose of that is if you take the time to write someone's name down on an invitation or to write someone's name down on a letter, and you either hand deliver it to that person, once again, going back to, in person in reality to that person versus sending a text, or if you mail it to them, they're going to appreciate that time you put into it, and they're going to either A, actually RSVP, tell you yes or no so you know up front, or B, actually attend because of the time you put into it and because you're showing you're putting value into the relationship you have with that person.
Yep, another truth.
Yeah, and again, I mean, I love that you bake that right into the products. Because
I wanted to add something real quick to that. So at my job, there's the top producer. So I work for a realty company. And the top producer, what he does, I mean, this guy is number 3 in Houston right now.
Yep.
What he does is he writes handwritten notes to every seller and buyer he's ever interacted with. He'll stay hours after work some days just to write handwritten notes and deliver them in person. Like he has his assistants deliver them in person.
So he doesn't do where like he prints it and it looks like it's handwritten?
No. He probably
that
buys,
shit pisses me off. I'm like,
I'm
not stupid. I can tell.
He probably buys some generics, but he writes their names down, and he writes their addresses down. He writes, thank you, and he remembers like what the house was and what the interaction was.
That's
what puts him at number 1. Yeah, it puts him at number 1.
Yeah.
But you know what's crazy is, and like I'm kind of just thinking like, okay, if I were gonna do this, if I were gonna send invitations to somebody, I don't even know where I send them. I don't know anybody's address. I know their phone number and their Facebook profile, and that's
the
just
fault
about
of our
it.
society,
For sure,
unfortunately.
absolutely. Yeah, that's the own fault that I'm pointing out of myself.
Yeah.
Like,
no.
Well, trying to meet new people, I have forced myself to, in my contacts, every time I meet somebody new, I add their phone number, I take a photo of them, or I make them give me a photo to put as their thumbnail. I put their email address, and I put anything important. I think, like, as I learn more about you, I'm gonna put your birthday in your contact.
Yeah, people don't even save contacts anymore.
I'm gonna put if I know that you wear a medium shirt, and if you're close to me, like if you're someone I'd buy a gift, I'm putting that in my note of you in my contact.
Yeah,
I think these are really important things that I never was great at remembering things, so I have an amazing tool that can remember everything about you, and I do care about you. But I also, I have, the world's changed, the way we have so much going on, but I do really care, and I want that stuff there. Like my ex, I'd always have ring size and dress size and everything put in my note for her contact. And that was just,
and I like that you're looking at me as you say that.
Yeah, because you're my sweetheart.
Another great point, too. I think that we can use technology now to help us do these things. That's where technology can be used for the positive. If you look at any great restaurant, any great, type of, personal service, the thing that they do best is customer relationship management, right? They have a system in place to help them understand their customers better. I mean, this goes into Facebook advertising, goes into, any type of digital marketing, but basically, if you're able to understand your customer better, what their individual wants and needs are, you're able to attune to what they're asking for, give them what they want, you're going to build a better relationship with them, which is going to lead to more business down the road.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I know that we've hit a lot on what we can do personally to sort of, I guess, curb some of the issues that we're seeing with digital communication, ads and stuff like that. And I think that's one of the good points that you just hit on about what businesses can do to instead of just plastering the ad and just getting in the eyes of as many people as possible, like having something that's maybe even more organic or more participatory than just a picture and say click here and I got your email or I got your IP address now.
Yeah, it goes to the idea of a lot of companies, a lot of startups, they do these launch parties, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they came up with this great idea, this great application, and they have this amazing party to celebrate it. So this does two things. One, it solidifies this idea of newness. You're associating this new experience that people crave to have. They always want to have new experiences. You're solidifying this positive relationship with the new product that you're having at the time of that party. But it also serves to engage the people that are, maybe wouldn't even have attended the party or wouldn't have thought of your service in the first place. They're seeing other people that are having a good time, engaging with that application, that service. It's going to make them think about it in a positive way also.
No, I think that personal touch of a business is something that with the tools we have, there's no better time in history to be more connected with people. But I think what we have to do is balance that, using the tools, but using that human interaction still. And an artist, when they release an album, they don't just release it online anymore. They create a tour. They create something for you to be in person and experience it with, or an album release party or something like that, right? But guys, we are running a little on time. I want to bring us to our next section here, the quote of the week.
All right, so I'm not really sure where this quote comes from, but I think it wraps up this conversation really nicely. It goes, no matter what job you have, your success will be determined 5% by your academic credentials, 15% by your professional experiences, and 80% by your communication skills.
Networking.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
I mean,
defines our life.
The age-old saying is, it's not what you know, it's who you know.
Yes.
Yes. And I'm experiencing that myself. I'm having to do a lot of networking now. But I mean, that couldn't be more, absolutely the truth.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's what I said earlier, like a lot of these jobs get missed up and passed over just due to your ability to have that conversation with somebody or
lack thereof.
Right? Yeah.
And what I think is also important on that is it is work. Like if you've ever tried to do it, like if you ever search for a job and you're having to, do LinkedIn and try to reach out to people, it's a lot of freaking work.
You have to build that body armor against
failure.
But
that's why people appreciate that so much, is because they know that it's work. They know it's just not, you just click the button and here we are. You put some time, you put some effort in it, you put that little personal touch to it. But I think that's why it's much more appreciated than some of the other things.
And the only way you're going to get better at is if you do more of it. Practice makes perfect. And the more you're putting yourself out there, you're engaging with people. In the real world, the better you're going to get at, and the more you're going to get out of a conversation, the more the other person is going to get out of a conversation, later on down the road.
For sure. Well, I know that we've done a lot of plugging for the Blue Frog Party Club, excuse me. But I did just want to remind all of our listeners, though, if you go over to bluefrogpartyclub.com and you can use code Bermuda to get 15% off your first order, you can get one of these awesome packs that we've been talking about with, the well thought out invitations, the recipes for some salsa for Cinco de Mayo.
Whoop, whoop.
But also, I mean, you can really tell, and I'm so glad that we've been able to have you, Chris, but you can really tell all the thought that you've put into these kits that really kind of makes it easier for the users, or your customers, rather.
You can't see the screen, Chris, but we're
displaying all the items.
It's
like you said, we're gearing up for Fiesta season right now, for Cinco de Mayo season. So we just rolled out that Fiesta A-Go-Go party in a box. Basically everything you need to have a awesome Fiesta themed party at home with your friends. We sell these in 3 sizes, 8, 16, and 24 people. And it's just, the perfect size of a party to have those intimate human connections that people are going to be looking for when they come off of social media and back into the real world.
Definitely.
Yeah. And also, Chris, you're wearing a really, really awesome shirt right now. I wanted to know where I can get one of those.
Oh, yeah. If you just head over to bluefrogpartyclub.com and click swag, you can shop our website. And check out all of our sweet teas. We have them for men, women, and for kids now.
Oh, nice.
Awesome.
Nice. All right. Well, folks, that takes us to my favorite section of the show, the Triangle of Cards.
Oh my god.
All right. Well, I'm not going to go and explain this again, but you guys are more than familiar with how the game works. Although we are going to do a little bit of twist this week. None of us here in the room are going to be selecting which cards are the winner. Chris is going to be selecting them all.
Yes.
So no pressure, Chris, but pick the best cards. Pick mine.
No, you need to pick mine. I need to catch up.
We haven't quite figured out what the loser of this is going to do, but we've guaranteed that it's not going to be something they'll want to do. So, Travis, you got some work to do.
Hey, I'm only 3 points behind.
While we have Chris, so on our 1 year, we plan to have a party sponsored with Blue Frog.
Of course.
We're going to have your stuff all throughout the party. And we're going to bring a bunch of guests in on the show, have a room full of people, and record a live episode for that as well. And then whatever the loser of this game is at that time, we'll have to do something live on air that we're still figuring it out. So if you've got ideas, Chris, send them to us.
I'll come up with them.
I'm going to put my foot down right now. No butt stuff.
I think our social media followers would appreciate that.
Yeah, I'm sure they would.
Nobody wants to see your butt, guys.
All right, well, I'll just give a quick rundown of the current scores. Myself, Adam, in first place with 37 points. Alex in second place with 29 points. Carl closely in third with 28. Mm-hmm. And, of course, Travis bringing up the rear, no pun intended, with 25 points. So on that note, Travis, why don't you start us off this week?
Sure. Okay. Studies have found that after years of blue light exposure from electronic devices, humans are now overly sensitive to blink when compared to years past. Studies have found that after years of blue light exposure from our electronic devices, humans are now overly sensitive to blink when compared to years past.
That's a burner.
I hope we got some good ones.
Shoot,
This
is tough.
You play a card, Adam?
Yeah, let's. All right, I'm just gonna play that one. I don't think I'll win it.
So, studies have found that after years of blue light exposure from our electronic devices, humans are now overly sensitive to sharing needles when compared to years past.
Well, okay.
That's kind of dark. That's really dark. Studies have found that after years of blue light exposure from our electronic devices, humans are now overly sensitive to strong female characters when compared to years past.
Strong female, like Wonder Woman?
Yeah.
I guess, okay.
They're very worried.
Subliminal.
After years of blue light exposure from our electronic devices, humans are now overly sensitive to Viagra when compared to years past.
Oh, man.
It must be a new strain.
Oh, God.
So we got sharing needles,
This one wasn't really good.
strong female characters, and Viagra.
So what am I supposed to be picking? Am I supposed
So
to
you
pick
just pick the card that you find is most funny that fits the phrase.
Whatever criteria, it doesn't funny,
Funny,
well,
offensive.
makes sense,
Since
whatever. yeah.
Viagra is a blue pill, and we are talking about blue light, I'm going to have to go with that one.
That was a good play. That was a good play.
Was that Carl?
Carl won that one.
All right, now you guys are tied for second.
Man, I'm on a roll.
All right, Cole.
I think that's like 9 in a row.
That's great.
It might be actually.
Like, yeah.
All right, Chris, we're going to have to talk about our friendship after this.
We got 3 more questions, so you still have a chance.
When I pull on my earlobe,
That's my card.
yeah.
All right, Carl, go ahead.
All right. Let's see. Why go to a psychotherapist when social anxiety can be remedied with one simple solution? Blank.
Wait. Oh, God, this is going to be bad.
Oh, all right.
Why go to a psychotherapist when social anxiety can be remedied with one simple solution? Blank.
Okay, wait.
Do, 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 do. All right. Why go to a psychotherapist when social anxiety can be remedied with one simple solution? Oh, I can't read that. I can't read that.
You got to.
I have to. Ejaculating on a pound of tinsel. Jesus.
Who comes up with this stuff?
I don't know.
Hey, they're in the box. They're in the box.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
One simple solution for social anxiety: a saxophone solo. I could
Some
be
careless
behind
whisper.
that.
Careless whisper.
Some
what's
sweet
the- What's the
nothings.
guy G?
Kenny G.
Kenny G, little Kenny G in there.
This one's bad. Why go to a psychotherapist when social anxiety can be remedied with the one simple solution: AIDS.
Ooh. Goddamn. Ooh. Jesus.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's
I'll have
the
to go
worst
with-
kind of aid.
I'm gonna have to go with the middle one here, the saxophone.
Yes, that was a burner.
That was a raunchy one.
Yeah, we I guess we failed to warn you. Some of these can get pretty raunchy.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
This
Yeah,
gets
that's right.
really inappropriate.
All I'm gonna say is this next one.
Hey, freedom of speech,
Yeah.
right? No, I'm just kidding. All right, I'll go next. A new form of human communication involving blank has been discovered by social scientists. So a new form of communication.
This actually kind of applies to like what we were talking about.
Oh. Is your card
I don't think I'll win this one.
bluefrogpartyclub.com?
I don't think I'll win this one.
All right, so a new form of human communication involving not wearing pants has been discovered by social scientists.
That's ancient. That's
Yeah,
not new.
That's not new.
I guess.
Commando, man.
Hey, it's making a comeback.
That's
It is
not
making
new.
a comeback. All right, so a new form of human communication involving becoming so rich that you shed your body and turn into vapor. Okay.
Okay.
I'm not sure what to do with that. All right, so a new form of
Amazon
communication involving
That's what happened to
Jeff
Jeff Bezos.
involving moral ambiguity has been discovered by social scientists.
I don't
All
think
right.
any of those work.
We've had an awful
Moral
week.
ambiguity?
Moral
I'm
ambiguity.
gonna have to go with a new form of human communication involving party in a box has been discovered by social.
All right, that one wins.
Yeah.
Ooh, that one just got thrown up.
We got to pick one.
Okay, we'll go with the trusted adage. You know, walking around without pants on.
All right, there you go.
Finally, yes, I'm pulling away from Carl. Thank you, Chris. We're friends
Broke the
again.
spell.
All right, you got the last question, Alex.
All right, so a new social media app called Blank is a new social phenomenon claiming to connect people with their soulmates across the globe.
That's a winner. That's a winner.
I don't know,
winner.
man. Mine's pretty good.
Mine's
it fits
mine's
perfectly.
like mine's like perfect.
All right, Carl, come on.
Fuck.
All right, so we've got a new social media app called Penis Envy. Is a new social phenomenon claiming
that
to
one.
connect people with their soulmates across the globe.
I'm starting to notice a trend here, guys.
It's in the box. We bought this card
Hey.
game. It's what was in it.
And this is
Out of
we're,
my
all,
box.
we're all above the age of 17, which is what you have to
Yeah.
be to play this
Yeah,
game.
let's make that
apparently.
discernment.
Yeah.
It's not his box, not the Cards Against
Yeah,
Humanity.
Cards Against Humanity. So a new social media app called The Trail of Tears is a new social phenomenon claiming to connect people with their soulmates across the globe.
Oh my
This
god,
is
that's
so bad.
dark.
Oh, this is so bad. A new,
Oh, it's so good. It's so good.
a new social media app called Cards Against Humanity is a new social phenomenon claiming to connect people with
So
their
meta.
soulmates across the globe.
That's so meta.
I'm gonna have to go with Cards Against Humanity.
Boom!
Yeah!
What?
Oh my god.
Think about if each card was the opening line you had to send to the other person on the app.
True.
That would be pretty. That would be pretty impressive.
Whoa.
Or
That just blew my mind a little bit.
that's a great idea. All right, patent that right now.
Signed, sealed, delivered.
I'll start coding now. All right. Well, that brings the finishing scores. Myself still, of course, with a hefty lead with
you
37
son of a bitch.
points. You and Carl actually now tied for second place. Travis, yeah, you're still back there.
Hey, I'm only 3 back.
Hey, you
You got a point today.
got a
I'm
point.
only three
Yeah,
back.
okay.
Woo, man, that was an episode.
That was an episode. Yeah, I think our theme, I guess, a theme point of the show on this particular episode is balance. Just finding the balance, using
Yes.
tools for what the tools should be used for,
Yes.
but still not neglecting sort of what humans have been doing for centuries, which is just talking to each other face to face.
Yeah, and I mean parties. That was, I think, the theme of this to me was that you need to party more.
I mean, who doesn't like a good party though?
But a party doesn't involve being crazy and sloppy always, you know? Like, a party is about the interaction with people.
You want to remember the party.
Yeah.
Yes.
Exactly.
Chris, you want to get the last word on this?
Yeah, I mean, first off, thanks once again for having me on the show, guys, and it's been a real pleasure to talk with y'all today and talk about Blue Frog Party Club. But if we each take 10 or 15 minutes out of our day to focus on someone else in real life and in person, I think the world could be a better place. And if it happens to be at a party, even better.
Absolutely.
Well, guys, I want to give y'all a reminder. I wanted to give y'all a reminder. I can send y'all. We'll write letters to each and every one of you fans.
That's a lot of handwritten notes.
But I wanted to remind you guys that you can head over to our website at bermudat.com and check out all of our extended content. We feature articles written by you and some of them by us, but we want to share your ideas. And if you have opinions or you want to get your voice heard, feel free to send us a message on our website at Contact Us and try and get some questions involved. Send us social media, get involved online on all the things we just bashed on for like the last hour.
Follow us, like us.
Yeah, follow us, like us, get involved. Get on Facebook, Instagram. We're on all of them. You can find us as well or send us an email at podcast@bermudat.com. And all of our social media platforms, Instagram at Bermuda Triangle Podcast, Twitter at Bermuda T Podcast, and Facebook.com/Bermuda Triangle Podcast.
If you guys would like some ways to get in contact with Chris or Blue Frog Party Club, you can check out his Instagram and Facebook, which is at Blue Frog Party Club. You can also head over to the website and get you one of these dope boxes. Again, Blue Frog Party Club. You can use promo code Bermuda to get your first box 15% off.
We already kind of mentioned it, but Fiesta season is happening, guys. Don't forget, it is a party season. It's literally the name of the season. But guys, it has been another just fantastic, phenomenal, wonderful episode of the Bermuda Triangle Podcast, where interesting topics get lost in good conversation.
We'll see you guys next time.
Peace!
Don't forget to subscribe.
Did you cut the stream?